Hello, hello. It is our Monday meetup and welcome. We're going to talk about energy today. This sort of came up because I had a client this morning, and typically I start feeling my client's stuff a couple hours beforehand, but this was a big one. This was going to be a big shift for this particular person, and so it started, last night actually, me picking up on it. And I thought, not everybody knows what it's like to experience energy on that level, especially someone else's energy. Or maybe you're already an empath and don't really realize how much energy you're taking on of other people's and how to protect yourself from that. So I wanted to go back and just share my journey of working with energy and some little tips and things that I learned along the way and that were introduced to me throughout the years that can really help dive into that, whatever stage you're at with it. So let's look at just very basics to start. So someone who maybe thinks they can feel energy or wants to try it and experience it. You have an energy body. We have this auric field around us, right? And it typically is 12 to 18 inches from the body. You can bring it in closer, you can expand it out further. Empaths, who are people who tend to feel other people's physical and emotional pain, sometimes feel so much because their auric field is way too big and they need to bring it in on a really conscious level in order to not be feeling everybody else's stuff. So how can you start perceiving your own auric field, your own energy field? And one of the best exercises for that is going and having a friend near you, and you just do an exercise where you close your eyes and you ask them to come around you and actually go like they're going to touch you, but come into your field very, very slowly, and let them know, tell them when you perceive their presence, and have them hold their hand where you say stop, I can feel you. And then validate yourself by looking actually like, oh my goodness, you're that far away from my skin. I thought you were touching me. And I remember the first time I did that, I was really shocked that someone was actually like probably 10 inches away from me and I could actually feel it. Pretty mind-boggling. And you can take turns. You can have them do it several times where they're approaching different parts of the body, or around your head or shoulders, and see what you pick up. It's sort of fun. Another thing that I used to do, I had a really good friend who was very aware somehow of not only energy himself, but my capacity for it and his own inner guidance and guides, who he was getting a lot of information from on a regular basis. Used to tell him to test me with stuff. So he started me on an exercise that is really great to do. And that's just picking up stones or crystals, rocks, arrowheads, especially any artifacts from old Indian sites, and just holding them. And you just hold it in your hand, and I'd love to see who's here with me. I can see someone's here with me, but I can't see who it is. Welcome. If you have any questions, put them in the comment box. So holding an object in your hand and just sitting with it, and ask it to either share its vibration or its story with you. You might feel it get hot, you might feel your hand go really cold, and just sort of keep tuning into that and try to pick up the vibration of that stone. And for me in particular, I was asking for it to reveal itself, its history. So I would hold, for example, these are just moonstone and a crystal that I have, but my friend had arrowheads from all over the West, or spear points or bird points, and he would have me hold it, and I would get pictures and knowing and stories. And I was like, that's crazy, but okay, I'll tell you what I'm getting. And I would tell him, I would sense like it had gone into the arm of a warrior, or it had pierced a bird or a deer, or I could see the whole scene. And I would tell him the story that I got with it, and he was able to validate for me. And that's the nice thing about working with someone who maybe knows a stone's story or can be with you to validate what you're feeling, like in the auric field exercise. Hi Sonomi, we're talking about energy. So feeling that and knowing the story, and every time I would tell him, he would say, yep, exactly, that was found in this place in Utah, because I would describe a riverbed or a place where I saw a battle happening, and something with these spear points. And so that was a really basic exercise to start, and it helps if either a shopkeeper that knows the history of some stones or maybe knows about the vibration or color of specific stones, because that's information that can come too when you're holding something, just closing your eyes and trying to perceive the color that that stone represents on a wavelength of energy. And from there you can move up to bigger things. I've had some amazing experiences around the world, over in the UK specifically, with stone circles. And all giant stones, especially battlefields, hold energy and stories. Some you don't want to tune into because they're pretty gory. But stone circles around the UK hold incredible stories. Some you might pick up on are old altars or sacrifice places over the ceremony that was happening there. But they can download their stories, and they are beings. They want to share, and they are holding the history of the planet, and that's what they're there for. They are the keepers of the history. And if you want to know the history of a place, you don't need to read a book necessarily. That might help fill in gaps or validate, but I would suggest first going and sitting on a historic site, feeling some of the larger stones or trees that have been there, especially the stones, because they've been there the longest, the really big ones, and just see what pictures or storyline comes. And then maybe go read the history book, because when you start getting confirmation of the information that you receive, that's when you're going to start trusting it. Otherwise, we have all this doubt around what goes on in our internal world, and that, oh my gosh, that's not possible, that's uncanny, it can't be that way, it can't be real. And there is so much beyond what we can see with the physical eyes that is happening in this universe that is very real. And I'll tell you, when I started doing energy work with clients back in 2003, I was amazed to start feeling things in their field. And I would be just working on the auric field and smoothing it and feeling densities or blockages, because they present vibrationally differently. And you can practice that too, just like the auric field exercise, but taking it further, where you're actually just running your hands about 4 inches away from someone's body and just doing a scan very slowly to see what you pick up. Is it hotter? Is it colder? Hi, Nikki. Are you feeling where it gets sticky or thick? Are you feeling it smooth out and be light and really high vibration in certain parts of the body? That's how you start picking up. So when I was working with people energetically, I would start feeling and know, oh my gosh, there's a blockage here. And the craziest part was that I would start feeling, especially in the lower spine, as if there's a blockage in the hips or up in the upper shoulder blades. And what I was seeing was like wings or a tail trying to come out. And it mind boggled me. It was so confusing. I thought it was like, it felt like what I would imagine or envision a dragon would be if it was coming out of this person. And sure enough, that's how all the dragon work started for me. If you're not familiar with it, go to dragonwithin.com. It's a book that I brought through back in 2007. And it started because of this energy work with people, where I just would start feeling these wings, like there was a wing cramped, and they were having shoulder pain or hip pain, and I was trying to, is that Kate Goslin? Nice to see you, Kate Godin. Kayla Godin, sorry Kayla, nice to have you on the call. Feel free, if you guys have questions as I'm talking about energy here, to put them on there, because I'm open to answering any questions you have about perceiving energy, working with energy, learning about how to validating yourself. So feeling when I was working with these clients, like there was something stuck and they were having shoulder or hip pain. And once we released that and helped this wing come out, all of a sudden that pain dissipated. So it became very real for me. And then as my journey expanded and energy became even more and more real for me, where I could expand my own field 30 or 40 feet tall and become this gigantic being, and working with dragons, that whole book came through. But that's not everybody's journey is going to be like that. That's something that is specific to me and my experience, and where my journey has taken me with it. I think everyone has the capacity to open to energy in that way, but not everyone has the desire or the will to. So stone circles, going back to that, and how you start perceiving things, they're very real. And that's why I encourage you to experience something and then read the history book. Experience something and then ask for the story of that stone. Because you need to have that confidence building to keep going on your journey and starting to see that it's very real. That everything around us is, there's more to it than you think. Another awesome experience I had when I lived in Lander, Wyoming, as I started opening to all this non-physical reality experience, I got invited because there were a couple of women in town who were psychics, empaths, had a real intuitive gift, and they wanted to have a luncheon at what was known as a haunted house. Somebody runs a bed and breakfast there that's been for years known for having all these spirits and ghosts. And I got invited, and so there were 12 of us, I think, and it was a really beautiful experience. We wandered around the house, and if you get a chance to do this, especially coming up for Halloween, there might be opportunities or houses opening up with a chance to do this. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really think I could pick up on anything, but I went, and what we did was just go through the house and sit in the different rooms and see what we perceived. And I had a journal, and I'm a very visual learner, so when I see something, I can remember it. Like phone numbers, license plate numbers, once I see it, it's in my memory bank. So I get my internal vision, I get stuff quite visually and just like knowing. So I'm claircognizant and clairvoyant, and even when I couldn't see per se, or wasn't sure that I was seeing something as real as I see it next to me here, I always was able to get enough information that if someone asked me to draw a picture, I could. So, excuse me, my little bee dog here is hearing the wind howling outside. We got a cold fall day here. Anyway, so sitting in each room of the house, what I started to perceive was the spirits that were still in that house and the lifetimes that they had and the costumes that they had on from the era that they lived in. There was a little boy and his parents and their dog even. I mean, a ghost dog, really? I was blown away by it. And so I just wrote all these things down. I didn't share it with anybody right off the bat. And we were sort of instructed, like, just, you know, go and observe, see what you see, notice what you notice, feel what you feel. So I wrote all my things down in a journal, and then we went and had lunch. And I let all these other ladies start talking because I was very unsure of myself. And it unfolded that everything that I had in my journal about this couple that had lived there, and their little boy, and their dog, and another sailor who was in a different room, and another young gal who was about 17. These were all earthbound spirits that were caught in this house, and they couldn't figure out why there were people like sleeping in their beds and stuff. Like, this was their house. Like, why are these people in our beds? They hadn't figured out that they were actually deceased and could move on from that place in the spirit realm. But what was validating and neat for me and helped me expand my own consciousness and trust what I was getting was that all these ladies were talking about those specific characters and what they perceived they were wearing and what they perceived their stories to be, and everything matched up with what I had written down. So any opportunities you have, if you're wanting to expand your gift, to experience that, start putting it out there that's to your guides and guardians. You want to have experiences like that with stones, with places, sites, with haunted houses or entities, beings, picking up the experience of another being walking around you. And as you start to open to it, your guides will bring experiences across your path to do so. And I have a feeling like coming up to Halloween, there's going to be some real cool experience potentials with buildings like that people tend to open up, for the scare Halloween factor. Anyway, another really fun story. The same man that used to introduce me to arrowheads and spear tips, he is part Native American Indian, and we used to go to sweats and things, and we would drive like 35 miles to go to this sweat lodge. And he had a big old Suburban, and we're driving along through Wyoming on this beautiful sagebrush-filled desert road, and all of a sudden I perceived this being in the back seat, and it was as real and big as a person sitting back there. There was just no physical body. And this being was gigantic. I'm like 7 foot tall, like your Wilt Chamberlain type character, 7 foot tall, big, broad-shouldered Indian. He just tapped me on the shoulder. He says, "Tell Bob I'm here. Tell Bob I'm here." And I'm thinking, oh, no way. My friend Bob is going to think I'm absolutely nuts. I'm not saying anything. And so finally he needled me long enough, and was jolly. He's just such a jolly personality. And I thought I was going crazy. I literally thought I was going crazy. And so I finally said, all right, what the heck? I turned to my friend Bob and I said, "Bob, do you have any knowledge of something else or someone else in the car with us?" And he turns to me and says, "Oh yeah, that's Wakara. He's a friend of mine. He hangs out with me all the time. He's quite funny, isn't he?" So therein started my ability to perceive beings and hear them. And when you open and are willing to experience it, they can reveal themselves. When you're not willing or open to have the experience, they never can. And even just opening yourself to being aware when you're walking down a crowded city street, how many other beings are present? And what other dimensional levels are they there and presenting themselves? So you can walk down the street, even if there's only one or two other actual pedestrians in physical form that you see. Start to pay attention to how your body just subtly moves one way or the other, or maybe you feel like someone brushes against you, and start tuning in to what is that? Did I just walk by another being? Is someone there? Am I, what dimensional reality am I actually walking in? And that brings another interesting experience I had in England in a place called Wandlebury. Really beautiful garden setting. And I was walking with two dear friends of mine who are very far along on their spiritual journeys as well. And we had some amazing conversations, and we went out to this beautiful place to wander. And this tree being there, I call her the Empress of Wandlebury because she was just this magnificent tree spirit. But we wandered away from there, and we literally walked through what I would consider an energetic portal. There was a distinct beginning and end to it. It lasted maybe 10 or 12 feet. And as we passed through it, we all noticed it. And it was just off on this little trail through the woods. And we walked through it, and all of a sudden, everything around us was brighter, more vibrant, different color, really different vibrational feel to it. And we just got quiet and kept looking around and stepping forward. And then about 10 or 12 feet later, it was like we walked through a portal to exit it. And that was the first time I had experienced it. And I haven't found any other places like that, actually. Unless, well, some in Egypt, but actually going and walking through that made me realize, like, whoa, there's a lot happening on this planet that we cannot see. So be open to it, call it forth if that's the experience you want to have, and trust yourself. Start trusting yourself and have someone along or a way to get that confirmation, like I shared before, different ways to do that. Hi, Nancy. Glad to see you here. Feel free if you guys have questions. I'm going to just put the screen this way. If you have questions, feel free to post them. I'm happy to answer anything about energy. Because energy, it's all around us. It's universal. That's what makes, hi Kayla, I'm so ready to experience that kind of energy. Awesome, Nikki. Call it forth. I feel like you are ready too, and you just need to step into it. So, or when I drive by this one ranch outside of Alberta and I get real nauseated and the chills, yes, there's definitely, ooh, I feel that too, just as you speak to it, Nancy. I'm feeling the chills of that place. It feels like there was an Indian battle there, like almost like a massacre type, real, definitely nauseating type scene there. It might be a positive thing, because when we send love and light, that is serious energy. We can actually affect things by sending love and light to people and places. So you can actually see if you can have a positive effect on that when you drive by there, to send love and light and healing to all the souls that pass there, and a call in of angels to help them get to their next place. Because when they are locked in that place, they don't even know necessarily that they're dead or that they can leave the earth plane that they're stuck in. They can't see their guides and hear them. So maybe sending out prayers that, and I'm going to send one out right now just to that place because I can feel it, that they might be able to start perceiving their angel guides and guardians, because they were closed to energy and perception while they were in body. So they're still closed to it out of body, and having their angels be able to be perceived or be able to step down their vibration enough that they can see them, to know that they can move to a different place and find healing. And wow, thanks for sharing that perfect example. Wow, that just hit me hard, Nancy. And there are definitely places like that all over the West where there were big massacres and slaughters that happened, and real hard things to feel. They're not always that dense or hard. Like I was just describing the place in Wandlebury where I just stepped into a place of serious light vibration that hadn't taken on any density of the current pattern. But that's why it's possible to work remotely with people. I remember the first time that my guides had me work with someone remotely as an experiment. Good friend in Barcelona, they're like, do some energy work with her remotely because she can give you feedback. And here I am in Wyoming doing this all the way to Spain. And I really was like, okay. And it was the most profound session she'd ever had. Having been a healer and in the line of work for a lot of years, she was blown away by it. And so that's where that was back in like 2004 or 5. Actually 2005, after I'd met her in Barcelona. And that opened up a whole new pathway of work, because you don't have to only be working with, for me, like people in Reno. Yes, I love working with clients in person, but if I can have an effect or have contracts with people all over the world to work with them, how beautiful that we can work remotely, have these profound experiences of either removal, clearing, being able to see what's happening, shift it, transmute it, so that you can move forward on your journey. That's what I love so much about my work. And yes, I'm just going to read your comment there, Nancy. I feel something major happened there, and you did the same movement and feeling I have all the time. Yeah, exactly. Really powerful. So, oh, beautiful. I love those hearts. Thanks for that, ladies. So if you have any questions, feel free to post other stuff there. And if you think of questions afterwards, feel free to message me or post it in the comments later. I'll go back and address them. Thank you for finding me. I'm going to be doing all my lives now from my Invoke Healing page, because my guides are very clear. You know what? This is about getting it out in a big way internationally and really helping shift the planet. That's my desire. That's what I'm really, really heartfelt about on my journey. Anne, hello. Nice to see you. I hope you go back and listen to the replay about energy, because I know it's going to touch you, because you're so connected. So therein, if you are feeling like you need to shift, move, clear, heal, that you're stuck somehow energetically, that's what I do. Feel free to message me and we can get on a call to see about doing some work together. And I will look forward to hearing some questions if you have them. Otherwise, I will look forward to connecting again next week. I love talking about energy, so thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're interested in past lives, we had a great discussion. I think it was 2 weeks ago. You can look back on the old replay. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel. Also, I have all my videos that I've done. If it's hard to find them in the post slow down, you can go watch them on my YouTube channel, which is just look up Invoke Healing International, and you should be able to find it. So this room is very calming, and the light is amazing. I like it. Good juju. I'm assuming you're talking about the room I'm in, and yes, it is a very calming room. This is one of my favorite spaces to sit, and favorite space that my dog likes to sleep. That brings good juju to it. So I hope you guys have a great Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in, and to all those watching the replay later, I'm so grateful that you are tuning in. I hope you get something out of it. And I will see you probably at the end of the week for another spontaneous live, but definitely next Monday. So have a great afternoon, ladies. Bye.